Money. It's kind of important. Pays for housing, pays for transportation, pays for ice cream, and there's definitely some stigma around it. There's this mindset that the more money you have, the better you must be at your job, or the more opportunities you're gonna have. And in some people's minds, the more value you have as a person. Now, whether you attribute someone's income to their worth as a human being or not, I think we can all agree that money is kind of important. Like it or not, we all need some cash, some coinage, some dough, as they say. Now, for the longest time, money's been a pretty no-touch subject in the art industry. It's all very hush-hush. Companies almost always make you sign papers promising not to disclose how much they've paid you. Even many independent artists don't really want to share how much they make or how they make it. Or some artists are a little embarrassed because they don't make a full-time income. There's been an unwritten rule of don't ask, don't tell as artists, and I think that's pretty sad. This is definitely a career path that is so dependent on community and learning from one another. We need people to show us how it's done. And you combine that with the stereotype of the starving artist, that you literally can't make a living as an artist, and you've got a recipe for very confused, very discouraged artists. However, I think some progress has been made recently in this area of the art world. Some artists are becoming more transparent about their finances in the hopes of helping newer artists with theirs. Artists like Jamila Knopf and Kelsey Rodriguez. And over the past few months, there's been a trend going around on social media of artists sharing what they made during the month for each of their income streams. They list the totals, subtract the fees and expenses, and show us their net profit. It's definitely encouraging to see more artists being more open about what they're making and how they're making it. Because when you're just starting to pursue a career in art,
it's kind of terrifying.
You have literally no idea what to expect. There are all the super scary things like taxes and expenses, and you just don't have a very clear idea of how much you'll actually be making or how to make it. And these income stat videos can be very helpful. They give us ideas for different income streams we can pursue, and they encourage us that other artists are in fact making a living doing what they love. But I think there's also a dark side to all this income sharing going on. Most of the ones sharing their incomes are the ones who are already killing it with their art businesses. They've got all their ducks in a row and are making thousands of dollars every month even after expenses. But for artists just in the beginning of their businesses, I honestly believe this is very unrealistic. Sure, there's that 1 in a million person who lands a brand deal right after starting to share their art online, or finds a collector who commissions them for a $4,000 painting every other month. It happens. It's rare, but it happens. But for the majority of us, the real goal is probably just breaking even for the first year or two. You gotta spend money to make money, as they say. Now, I'll let you in on a little secret. I was really embarrassed when this trend started up. My art business is still very much in the early stages, and my income statistics are a direct reflection of that. I make a very small fraction of what most of those other artists are making, and for a while, that was pretty discouraging. I had the thoughts of,
well, maybe I'm just not a good enough artist,
and
I'm never gonna make as much money as they do.
But I tried to remind myself that social media is a very limited view of the larger picture. There could easily be other factors at play that maybe I don't see. Maybe they've had their businesses for much longer than I have. Maybe they're better at marketing themselves. Maybe they invested a couple $1,000s into their businesses to make really good products. Factors beyond them simply being better at art. Because skill doesn't always equate to income. I think it can definitely play into it, but I don't think a high skill level is the be-all end-all of making money. But that's a topic for another time. Anywho, I was feeling a little crummy about my own statistics, and I couldn't help but wonder if there were other artists like me out there with the same thoughts. Artists just starting out and feeling like they were the only ones not making it. So I decided to jump on the trend and share my own stats. Now let me tell you, that was one of the hardest things I think I've ever done on social media. Which might sound really stupid, but it was extremely humbling. I put myself in a very vulnerable position at that point. I was opening myself up to the judgment and criticisms of other people on a subject that does have a lot of stigma around it. But I've thought a lot over the last year or so about how important it is for artists to be honest and to be willing to talk about uncomfortable subjects. Subjects like not liking our art, or being afraid to try new things, or not making a whole lot of money. I think it's important to show that being an artist and or pursuing a career in art isn't easy. It's not comfy, it's definitely not always fun. But if you're truly passionate about your art, you push through those uncomfy things and become a better artist because of it. I think it's really important to show people the good and the bad sides of being an artist. That it takes time and patience and a lot
of failures.
But good things take time to grow. So, I shared the stats, and to my surprise, it resonated with a lot of people. There were so many people commenting that they felt exactly the same way and that they've been struggling with the same fear of whether or not they'll be able to make it as an artist. I think it helped open people's eyes to a more realistic expectation of what a starting out income looks like for the majority of people. Now, there are outliers for sure. You may start your business and make thousands in the first month, or you may lose a couple hundred in the first month. But please hear me on this.
Both are perfectly okay.
You are right where you need to be on your career path. Your path isn't going to look exactly like anybody else's because
you are not anybody else.
I'd also like to add that financial growth is not the only side of growing an art career. There's community growth where you're engaging with the people who are seeking out your art. There's artistic growth where you're building your skills and pursuing new ideas. And there's growth when other artists start noticing you. The day Devin L. Kurtz followed me on Instagram was infinitely more exciting than the day I got my first commission, let me tell ya.
Money is definitely not everything.
And there's also the growth of other people when they start to seek your advice and your insight into art. These are not small things. They all work together to build your art business. Finances are only one side of it. Now, I consider myself to be a full-time artist, as full-time as I physically can be, but I definitely do not make a full-time income from my art yet. But working as a full-time artist doesn't always mean you're making that full-time income. It means you're working towards something. It means you're devoting yourself to wholeheartedly pursuing your passion. It means you're giving your dream everything you've got, even if you're unsure whether it'll work out or not. Now, I do understand that that is a very privileged position to be in. You know, for a single mom raising her kids, throwing all her efforts into starting a full-time art career may not be the most financially wise option. For an artist who's just graduated art school and has school loans to pay off, you might need to be working another part-time job to pay the bills. I'm very fortunate to live with my parents. They have been so gracious in allowing me to just take some time and pursue a career as an artist without having to worry about a lot of bills. And I do not at all take this lightly. It's very much a blessing that I recognize that not many people have, and that's part of why I do want to give it my best shot. Because I do have this opportunity, and I don't want to waste it. I want to give it my best effort, and hopefully someday be able to give back and help other artists who don't have the same opportunities I did. Now, this idea is another topic I've been thinking a lot about lately, and that's the importance of community. Now, the dictionary definition of community is a feeling of fellowship with others as a result of sharing common attitudes, interests, and goals. Community is who you choose to surround yourself with, because who you spend time with matters. You're kind of the average of the people you spend the most time with. We should want to surround ourselves with people who are smarter than us, more skilled than us. Part of community is humbling yourself and being willing to receive the wisdom and help of other people who are farther along than you. That said, community is not just about what you can take from others. Community is very much a mutual upbuilding. It's encouraging one another, supporting one another, standing up for one another, and hard as it is, holding one another accountable. Community is not about having a string of yes men ready to applaud you and tell you that every one of your ideas is a good one. While I think we should most definitely encourage one another, we should also want to help each other become better people, or in this case, better artists. We should be critiquing each other and helping one another learn and grow. Growth means moving forward, not staying where you are. And you can't move forward if you're not willing to receive criticism. Now, there is, of course, a caveat to this. There's helpful criticism and there's bullying. If someone's obliterating your art or putting it down simply because it's not the kind of art that they prefer, ignore that. But if, let's say, someone's gently critiquing your anatomy studies or your painting technique, then listen to them. You are never above learning from someone else. In a lot of ways, I think our society has kind of lost its sense of community. I think some countries are a little more in tune with community than mine is, but I think in the US particularly, we have this very
you do you, looking out for number one
kind of mindset. You graduate high school, you move out, you go to college, and you make it or break it all on your own. We all live like we have all the answers and like we don't need help from anyone else. So no one asks questions and no one asks for help. If we were all a little more honest when we don't have things figured out or when we need some assistance, I think the world would be a little bit better. We'd show that it's okay to not know everything, that no one can do it alone, that it's okay to give and to receive. Now, there are times when people can take advantage of the help of others, and that's not at all okay. But I think if you're working towards something and you need a little help along the way, there's absolutely no shame in that. I think the art community could be a very rich and upbuilding place if we make it one. You know, we all have something to give to one another. Even artists who may be a little less skilled than you still have something to offer. Maybe a technique you haven't tried, or a bit more playful mindset you could take on. Community is about giving and receiving, and to have a community, you must be generous enough to give and humble enough to receive. We really just can't go it alone as artists. The more honest we are about our struggles, be they artistic like burnout or business like finances, the more we can help one another and grow with one another. The truth is, like the sign on the sketchbook page, we all have many miles to go, but it's a really exciting journey if you just let it be. And it's definitely more fun with friends. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed filling a page in my sketchbook with me and chatting about some of the harsher realities of being an artist. Huge thank you to my patrons over on Patreon for being a part of my community and helping to support my art journey. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye guys!